Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How are you guys? Today we're going to learn about stative verbs. Remember that this is a topic that we have seen before and it's pretty easy. This is to use with present simple or present continuous according to the uses, and that's what we're going to learn today. Okay, remember that a stative verb is a verb that describes states, emotions, feelings, and not actions. The difference between a stative verb and an action verb is that a stative verb talks about our feelings, as I said before, our feelings, or things, or emotions. And an action verb, as the word says, is an action. It's not the same to say, I am eating right now, because you can see that I am eating, maybe you can hear it, or you can smell what I'm eating. But if I say, I think you are mistaken, in this case, we cannot see what I have in my mind. You can see my thinkings. You can see what I have inside my head. Because as I told you before, even if you open my head, you won't see what I have inside. You will only see my brain, but you won't see my mind. So that's the difference between a stative verb and an action verb. A stative verb is to talk about emotions, feelings, and thinkings, and an action verb is to talk about the things that we can see, the things that we can demonstrate, or the thing or the actions. Well, exactly, the actions. Okay, so remember, as I told you before, as it says here, stative verbs are sense verbs as feel, hear, see, smell, and taste. Thinking verbs like know, notice, realize, remember, think, and understand. And also we can use these stative verbs to express emotions like dislike, hate, like, love, not mind, prefer. Remember that I already gave you a list of verbs, a list of stative verbs that are the ones that we use, and also we can use these stative verbs. The uses of the grammar use of a stative verb is only in present simple form. That means that from the list that you have, we cannot add the ing termination, because as I told you before, in the case of an action verb, we can demonstrate it. So an action verb, if you are doing it in that moment, you can add the ing termination. But in the case of a stative verb, you cannot add the ing termination because it's not an action, it's a feeling. So if we're going to use a stative verb, even if it is happening at that moment, we express it in present simple. Remember that the stative verbs are verbs that talk about our feelings. And also remember that you already have a list of stative verbs that I gave you at the beginning of this course. Okay, also we have some stative verbs that can add the ing termination. Those verbs are see, taste, think, be, have, look, and appear. In this case, we can add that ing termination, but the meaning of our verb changes. For example, the verb see. If we say, do you see our grandparents? In this case, we use see as stative verb in present simple to talk about that we are using our eyes. Do you see your grandparents? I'm telling you, or I am asking you to use your eyes. In the case of see is the things that we have in front of our eyes. But when I add the ing termination, the meaning changes. It's not the same to say, I am seeing my sister-in-law tonight. In this case, this seeing has the same meaning as meeting. I can say, I am seeing my sister-in-law, or I have a meeting with my sister-in-law. That means that you are going to go out with someone, or you are going to meet with someone. In the case of taste, it says, this chocolate tastes great. In this case, tastes talks about a particular taste. If I say, I like chocolate because it tastes sweet, it's like saying that I'm giving my opinion about the flavor of the chocolate. But if I say, that's tasting the sauce again, in that case, tasting with ing termination is talking about an action. When we use tasting, it's because someone is testing the flavor of something. For example, if I am cooking a cake and say I am tasting the mix of my cake in order to know if it's good. In that case, we are testing something just to know if we are preparing in that moment has the correct flavor for us. Then we have think. Remember that at the beginning of the explanation I told you that we cannot add the ing termination to think, but we already can do it, but it has a change. If I say, you think you know everything, that means that you have a belief or you have an opinion. I think you are very smart. That's my opinion. But if I say, I'm thinking about buying a new car, in this case, you are making a decision. That is an action of considering something. And in this case, we can add the ing termination because we can say, I am thinking about to buy a new dress. I will make a decision and you will see the decision I took later. Also, we have the verb be. When we use the verb be, remember that the verb be, as we are talking in present, we use am, is, are. And when we use the verb be, it's according to our subject, and in this case, we use is because we're talking about my grandfather, and that is a third person. My grandfather is very patient. That is describing a usual behavior. That means that you're talking about something that is common. It's like saying, Fernanda is very talkative. That is her usual behavior. She behaves like that all the time. But what about if one day we're going to use Fernanda as an example. What happens if one day Fer feels a little sick and she comes to the class and she's not talking? We can say, Fernanda is being quiet. As this example, the children are being very lazy. That describes a behavior that is not usual. As the example that I used before, Fernanda is very talkative. That is something common on her. But if I say Fernanda is being very quiet, I'm telling you that it's not normal on her to be quiet. Then we have the verb have. When we use only have, let's say, I have lots of photos of my wedding. I am talking about possession, something that we own, something that is for us. But when we add the ing termination, is to talk about eating. Like, we're having dinner at the moment. Remember that it's common to change the verb eat for the verb have. Instead of say, I am eating an apple, I can say, I having an apple. So when we add the ing termination is to indicate that we are eating something at that moment. Then we have the verb look. We have on Rose looks so relaxed. In this case, look, remember that in this case we're using looks, we add the S termination because on Rose is third person. We are talking about the appearance. It's like when we say, oh, you look tired, you look happy, you look very well. You're giving your opinion, or you're talking about the appearance of someone or something. But when we add the ing termination is when we are indicating that we are focusing on something. Like John is looking at the family portrait. That means that he's paying attention, he is focused on the family portrait. And our last verb is appear. My mother-in-law appears to be nice. That is a first impression. We already know that some mothers-in-law are not nice for some people, but when you see this is talking about when you first met someone. As I say, Fair appears to be quiet. That means that that's the impression I have about Fair, but I don't know how is she, okay? And that's just an example. Then, when we add the ing termination, we can say, Robert is appearing at the Rex Theater. That is an action of taking part in something when you are arriving to somewhere. Okay, so these verbs these are stative verbs, and you can add the ing termination, but remember that when you do it, you have a change in the meaning. So we have see, taste, think, be, have, look, and appear. Remember that a stative verb is a verb that talks about our feelings, emotions, thinkings, and senses. And the difference between a stative verb and an action verb is that an action verb can be demonstrated that we are doing something, and a stative verb can show anything bad or feelings. It's not the same. We cannot say, remember that we cannot say, I am loving you, because you can see that I am loving you, You can't smell the love, you can hear the love, you can taste the love, and you can touch the love. But I can say I am eating because you can see my food, you can smell my food, you can hear that I'm chewing my food, you can touch my food, and also you can taste it. So that's the difference between a stative verb and an action verb. One is to talk about emotions and the other is to talk about actions. Okay, hope you liked the video, and remember that you already have some homework set, and don't forget to do it. Hear you next class. See you guys.